I'm Brad Mielke, and I'm the host and managing editor of ABC's daily podcast, Start Here.
Now, you launched that podcast in 2018, but on December the 1st, you will hit 2,000 episodes. That's quite a hit.
I'm exhausted just listening to you say it, James. How did we get here? It's incredible, like to think of, and I'm somebody who had been around the podcasting scene even before working in ABC radio. So I know the care it takes to put together a podcast episode of any sort. And so then to think to myself, oh, it's not just like 2,000 episodes, it's 2,000 podcasts that we've put together. And that sounds just unreasonable. Sounds unreal when you say it like that.
Yeah. And each one of those podcasts being significantly, I mean, I've put more than 2,000, but mine are only 5 minutes long. And my idea of reporting is not quite your idea. How many of those 2,000 episodes have you done yourself, Brad?
Oh, that's a great question. It's definitely more than 1,900. And then our top correspondent has more than 237 appearances. That's just for a guest.
So you've been doing pretty well all of these. It isn't a part-time job at all. You've been traveling around the US, doing them and reporting from a lot of different places around the US and outside as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we primarily have me anchoring the show from New York, and every day I'm speaking to several of our many correspondents fanned out across the world. So over the course of the last 7 years, we have done segments from literally every continent. That includes Antarctica. Mm-hmm. We've done segments featuring an astronaut while in space.
Wow.
We've even done a segment with a diver while he was underwater, setting a Guinness World Record for the amount of time spent underwater. So literally heavens and earth is the expanse of the Start Here destination list.
Wow. And so how do you keep fresh every single day? Because doing a daily show every single day takes its toll, doesn't it?
It does. And I think it really is just about trying to keep the listener in mind. The listener is like first, second, and third priority here. And so when we think about Start Here, it's all about taking what we find to be the most interesting news of the day and then trying to think about why should you care? Why should the listener actually care? We know that they get headlines pushed to them on their phone every minute of the day. Why should they actually care enough to spend 5 or 6 or 7 minutes on a given topic? What makes it interesting? What pushes it forward for them? And I think that's what keeps it fresh every day is there are so many storylines that feel, even though you're constantly hearing them, they still somehow manage to feel nebulous, right? They still somehow manage to feel like beyond your grasp, as if you're supposed to know a lot of background history that no one has told you about. And when I'm sitting around talking about the news with my colleagues, that's not necessarily what we're doing. There's lots of stupid questions between journalists where you go like, wait. How did this war start? Or like, what was the law that he was supposed to have broken in the first place? That's where clarity comes from. And the thing that I keep hearing from listeners over and over again is, thank you for asking the questions that I would actually ask this person if I were there in the moment. And to me, that's like the exciting part that makes this a dream job is I just keep getting to ask those questions of both my own colleagues and of newsmakers.
Yeah, you can absolutely see that. How has audience grown or changed since 2018?
It's interesting. There are moments where it grows exponentially, then there are moments where it levels off, then there are moments where it grows again, and then it levels off. We actually have never really seen a real dip in listenership, which is interesting. Like we're apparently a very grabby show. Like once you hear us, you stick with it. We've seen that in our analytics. And then it's so interesting too. I think your audience would know this better than anyone is like podcasts beget other podcasts, right? So when we have successful ABC podcasts where we are featured or where we feature other podcasts, like those grow with each other exponentially. So I remember we were doing quite well. We were seeing a steady growth in listeners, but we were still small-ish. And then all of a sudden ABC's The Dropout happened. That was the true crime podcast about Elizabeth Holmes. And we saw our numbers spike because we were always being mentioned in the ad breaks of that. So that's like an example of how rising tide lifts all boats, right? And then we've done that for other podcasts within ABC. But you really see like the kind of ecosystem. And then there's also the news itself. So then when they were sort of tectonic moments in the news cycle, we see our numbers again take a big rise and then not let up. So with this new administration, we've actually seen a significant rise in listenership just since Trump started his second
Can
term.
you see when a good story or a good episode title has driven to more listeners? I mean, certainly I always find myself, I subscribe to a number of daily shows. I don't listen to every single one, but I do choose them in terms of the episode title, in terms of what story is going to be covered. Do you see that too?
Well, it's weird because, as you know, like the downloads, like somebody might download it and not necessarily listen to it, or somebody might download and not listen to all of it or something. But we do indeed see like a huge uptick in listenership for certain episodes. Like I think one of our biggest episodes of the year was the Diddy verdict. I think that's what the episode title was called, just the Diddy verdict. Because again, these are the things that you want to know. Like, oh, it's been floating around in the ether. I want to know more about it. How do I just get smarter, faster? Oh, great. Here's that 20-minute show that I probably already subscribed to it, but today I need to make extra sure to listen to it. Or that's the day that it's being shared a lot amongst friends, or it's being highlighted on other platforms. So you do see the news itself sometimes drive listenership, and then you've got diehards who listen every day.
Are you audio only still?
We are. We'll do features with videos sometimes when there's a particularly interesting interview or something like that. We'll make sure to tape the video of it, and sometimes that gets clipped into use. Even for ABC Network might use that video sometimes as well if it's an exclusive interview. But generally we're audio only, and there's a good reason for that, which is like we are a produced show. Like it is very different from like two dudes sitting and chatting for 2.5 hours. Like this is something that we take a lot of pains to condense into the best possible 20 minutes we can. And if that means that we are getting A grade level talent to call us from their pajamas in their closet, and that's the only way they will talk to me, we'll take them like that.
Yeah.
And mercifully, we will not ask them to put themselves on video for that. But that's how we end up getting so many of our best interviews in the moment, is because we are calling people at all hours of the day and in all parts of the country, like often when they're on scene and not in a position to have any sort of film team with them.
No, indeed. And you travel around the world and travel around the US in particular. Are you now being recognized as as the man that does start here? Is that something that people come up to you and say?
So rarely, but it has happened. And one of my favorite moments was I'm at the Iowa caucuses and I'm interviewing a young woman. It's her first time caucusing. She's a first time voter, basically. She's 18 years old. And she asked me where I'm from, and I say ABC. And she says, wait, are you Brad Mielke? This is an 18-year-old who manages to listen to the news every day. And I always say, this is how you know Iowa voters are like a different breed, is even their high schoolers are listening to the new, like a daily news podcast. But that made me go like, oh, wow. Like this really does like shape people's mornings in so many ways.
Yeah. It's always weird going around. Obviously, we're not quite the same scale, but it's always weird going around a podcast conference and having people coming up to you and saying, I wake up to you every single morning.
And I have family members who think they don't need to call me or chat with me because they just talked to me this morning, is how they feel about it. I haven't heard their voice in weeks.
Yeah.
But they think that they're off the hook because like you said, it's so intimate that it really does feel like you are having a chat with that person.
So what happens in the next 2,000 episodes, Brad?
I've got so many big dreams, James. So I still continue to think that Start Here is at its best when it's explaining big, urgent, national and international news the day that you need context for it. Like when October 7th happened in Gaza and in Israel, by October 8th, we had a show up explaining, here's why this was such a big deal. And I still think that we can do better as a show in taking in doing unilateral coverage from these moments that are unfolding as they happen. Generally, I'm the one talking to a correspondent in the field, as it should be, right? These are our experts that are fanned out across the world, and they have this expertise. But my dream is that we're able to continue turning this into a platform at ABC that is both packaging news for you, but also reporting the news the very first time out there, that we are a news gathering and news making platform as well as sort of a summarizing product.
And will you be doing another 1900 shows in that 2000 shows to come?
I'm in my dream job right now. Like I truly don't know how they've allowed me to do this this long. Like they took a reporter who had just come off the campaign trail, who like had just sort of like learned what it was to be a, reporter in the field for the last couple of years. They said, "Hey, would you ever want to host this podcast? Podcasts are becoming interesting." I was like, "Yeah, hello, of course." And then we've managed to somehow make it successful, and I'm somehow like still the host of it. Yeah, yes, please. So I'm very happy and excited to keep rolling here.
There's an awful lot of talk at the moment, isn't there, about news avoidance and people who are don't catch up with the news as much as they used to because it's kind of, I don't know what the audio equivalent of doom scrolling is, but it kind of is a little bit like that, isn't it? Is that something that you and your team are aware of and want to change in some way?
Well, very much so. It's almost surprising to us sometimes that our numbers have actually done so much better over the last year or two, because we keep hearing from our colleagues about how everyone is completely exhausted by the news. We hear from our listeners that they're exhausted by the news. It's a very real phenomenon, and yet people still are like clicking us, which is helpful. It shows that we're probably doing things in a way that is not too exhausting. But it's like very much on my mind when I think about how we select our stories, how we report them in just like the most straightforward way that we can, like get people just the facts, ma'am. That's what people should be hearing, without too much critique or editorializing. And I think it's also just important to remember like what people want to know. There's the stuff that they need to know every day, and there's the stuff that they want to know every day. Often they're the same, sometimes they're different, and you're trying to offer them like a little bit of all of the above. So that means that you might have several big political stories today, but we've tried very hard not to make this an exclusively political show. Or on days, when we know that there's kind of one big story that's been out there all week, of course we're going to keep leading with that. But if there's a way we can highlight a story that might not be on your radar, we're very much going to take a look at that and like spend significant time to it too, in a way that's not just like a throwaway. But we always are trying to make sure that even our offbeat news is not just like quirky and silly. Like it still is telling you something interesting about the world around you, because it's all there all the time.
Yeah, there's a number of radio conferences that I go to, and there's a lot of talk about constructive journalism. And instead of telling the story as if you're telling, another really bad thing has happened, to actually tell the story in a way that actually there is some constructive goodness that comes out of all of this. And like kind of a respect for all people involved. Like there aren't generally like super villains out there, right? So even if there's like a part of the political spectrum or a part of the country or something that you disagree with, everyone's generally coming from a place of good faith. Like most normal human beings are coming from a place of good faith. They might just have different ideas of how you get there, or different assumptions that have now shaped their ideas. And I think the key is to like pay respect to all of those ideas and to treat as many people as you can like they are coming from a place of good faith, and like we can like figure this out together and derive some sort of, doesn't have to be a common truth, but at least a common narrative as to what the heck is happening. And you mentioned obviously doing a daily news show, you can't necessarily dive into individual stories as deeply as you would like. One of the things that I've noticed a number of the other shows that I listen to are doing is they are beginning to do longer, more investigative shows, really focusing on specific stories. Is that part of where Start Here is going, or is that part of where you're going in terms of what you might be doing in the next few years as well?
I do think it's really difficult to put together a daily show that covers all the news and that makes it all seem fresh. And so I think part of the challenge that we've actually decided to stick with is the tough challenge of like delivering multiple stories a day, unless there is one story that is absolutely blocking out the sun. I think it's like actually a unique challenge to deliver on multiple stories a day, give people a broad sense of what the news is that's percolating around them, and to do it interestingly in a way that doesn't just exhaust everyone. We have, though, done several kind of standalone episodes, and we'll often do these on a weekend or something like that. Like, we think of it more like bonus content than we do our supplanting our regular show. And in those sort of bonus episodes, we've had like producer-led segments where they're going around with like war reenactors and going on hunting trips with people reporting on these sort of niche interest. We've done award-winning work on like the specter of long COVID in America. We've looked at Americans being priced out of the real estate market. So we do these like really interesting deep dives on things. But generally, I think the key for us is to deliver on our original mission, which is like, it is hard to do multiple stories a day, year after year after year, and we're going to keep doing it like in an interesting way.
The last time I saw you was 3 years ago, and I was trying to convince you to come to sunny Australia.
Yes, that's right. You're right.
Because it was 10 years to the Olympics. It's now, 7 years to the Olympics. We've not actually started building anything. We're still arguing about budgets and things. Are we going to see you? Are we going to see you down here covering our Olympics at some stage in the future?
I had to see Los Angeles then, James. Well, now you're painting yourself into a corner because now we've got to hang out in Los Angeles or something
Correct.
like that before then. But I would love to go to Australia, man. That's the key. The key for both of us, as you know, is like if you're gonna do it, you got to do it right. So you got to give me like a 2-week itinerary, right? I can't just swing in for a weekend.
Exactly right, Brad. It's always good to have a chat with you. Thank you so much, and well done on 2,000 episodes.
Thank you so much. It's really, truly a dream to be doing it. And it's like been a joy to talk to you over these last several years since we've been on the scene. So thank you so much.